Hello friends, you are watching Lookk. I am Amar Prasad. What is Palestine? Who are Philistines? From where they came and what was their religion over the period of thousands of years? Friends, more than 43,000 people have died in Gaza since the war reignited between Israel and Hamas last year. The conflict began with a large-scale Hamas attack on southern Israel. It resulted in numerous casualties and kidnappings. Since then, Israel has relentlessly struck the Palestinian territories of Gaza and the West Bank. Currently, around 1 million Palestinians are refugees worldwide. This includes those in the West Bank and Gaza. But if you ask these Palestinians if they will ever have their own nation, many remain somewhat hopeful. And yet, there is no solid conviction behind this hope. Though groups like Hamas continue to attack on Israel, conversations around creating a Palestinian state are sparse. So, is it truly impossible for Palestinians to form their own nation? What are the real barriers? Is Palestine an actual country or merely a community? And more importantly, has support from Islamic countries helped them or hindered them? Stay tuned till the end to uncover answers to all these questions. The invisible nation. The global conversation today often centers on Palestine and its people. Public support is pouring in from many countries. Some individuals have even set themselves on fire during pro-Palestine protests. The calls for a ceasefire echoing globally. Humanitarian aid is being sent, including from India. Resolutions are being passed. The situation is being recognized as a humanitarian crisis. This crisis has also sparked deeper questions. What is Palestine? And who are Palestinians? And if you ask Palestine is a country, the answer remains a definitive no. This makes Palestine an invisible nation, and it exists only as an idea. More than 100 UN member countries recognize Palestine as a country, but it remains as a non-member observer state of UN General Assembly since 2012. The idea of Palestine comprises West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. They are collectively referred to as the occupied Palestinian territories since the end of British mandate. But why has Palestine not become a fully recognized country? Jews returned to Israel in 1920 and secured a nation by 1948. That is within less than 3 decades. But why haven't Palestinians who have lived there for centuries achieved the same? Why? Why they couldn't? The answer lies in Palestine's complex history. From Aegean coast to Canaan coast. The earliest mention of Palestine dates back to the writings of Herodotus. The Greek historian referred to the coastal inhabitants of the Aegean region as Philistines. This Aegean coast lies along the western shore of modern-day Turkey or Turkey. This is also why the Philistines were referred to as the people of the sea. By 1175 BCE, long before the rise of Islam or Christianity, this particular group started to migrate. They began settling in areas of present-day Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Israel, especially along the Canaan coast. The Canaan coast is the modern-day Israeli Mediterranean coast, and the region together is modern-day Levant region. But back in the time, Greeks called this area as Philistia. This region was then home to the Israelite and Judahite kingdoms. It also included kingdoms of Edom, Ammon, Moab, and Aram Damascus. Together, these entities formed a broader collection of Canaanite societies. The arrival of Philistines led to the clashes with the existing Canaanite tribes and Israelites. But the migrants stood their feet, unwilling to go back to the Aegean region. They also blended elements of Canaanite culture with their own in the upcoming centuries. The Babylonian invasion. By 604 BCE, the Philistines and Canaanites fell under the rule of Neo-Assyrian Empire. But their king Ashur-uballit II was eventually defeated by King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. This led to the loss of autonomy for Israel, Judah, and the Philistines. When the Philistines attempted rebellion, Nebuchadnezzar crushed them. He also destroyed Philistinian cities of Ashkelon and Ekron. As a result, many Philistines went into exile. Over the time, they lost their distinct identity in Babylonia. Even historical and archaeological records do not indicate the Philistines as a distinct group. Neither recognize Philistia as an independent country. The region subsequently came under the rule of successive empires. The Assyrian, Egyptian, Achaemenid, and Macedonian Persian empires ruled for centuries. Local kingdoms functioned as vassals to those empires. Over the time, the migrants not only continued to conflict with Israelites but also assimilated within the region. Eventually, they came to be known as Palestinians. What was the religion of Palestinians? This is very interesting. Today, Palestinians are known as Sunni Muslims. But throughout the centuries, Palestinians practiced various religions, including Christianity. Ancient Greek records distinguish between Jews and Christians in the region, but they do not explicitly mention Palestinians. This suggests a shared cultural identity among inhabitants. Historians indicate that from 7th century onwards, Palestinians gradually converted to Islam. Around this time, the term Palestine began to be used to refer to the region. The land's borders fluctuated over time due to repeated invasions, largely motivated by the significance of Jerusalem, a city considered holy by Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike. The invasions continued until the rise of Ottoman Empire in 1517. The Turks maintained control over Palestinians until World War I. During this time, Palestinians were identified as Turks and did not actively pursue a separate Palestinian identity. After World War I, Jewish migration to the area intensified. Palestinians naturally opposed and protested against this. This period also marked the beginning of Palestinian aspirations for a homeland, a lost opportunity in 1947. In the 1920s, Jewish communities began purchasing land in the region. This sparked tensions and conflicts between them and Palestinian residents. Eventually, the Jewish population, with backing from the United States and Britain, gained control over the area. By the time their population reached around 2 million, the Jewish community was ready to establish their own nation. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan. This was a two-state solution, a topic still under discussion even today. The area got divided into three parts. 56% of the land was allocated to Jewish state, which is Israel, 43% to an Arab state, which is Palestine, and 1%, which is Jerusalem, designated as an international zone. Israel accepted the proposal and officially joined the United Nations in 1949, but the Palestinian leadership rejected it. They opposed Israel's formation. Had they accepted, they might have established a recognized Palestinian state and perhaps coexisted with Israel. However, looking at their current situation, the decision they took in 1947 appears to be a misstep. This also influenced by several key factors. Let me uncover them for you. Challenges from Arab nations and internal divisions. One significant factor in the Palestinian situation has been the antagonism of neighboring Arab countries towards Israel. United Nations proposed a Palestinian state, but the Palestinians deliberately refused the proposal, relying on Arab support. Soon after Israel declared independence, war broke out. The Palestinians, along with several Arab nations, launched war against Israel, but were ultimately defeated. Palestinians gained nothing from this conflict, but they lost territory. Egypt and Jordan joined the war with fervor in optimism of leading the Islamic world. Israel took advantage of this, seized additional Palestinian land. In subsequent conflicts, Israel expanded its control and Palestine continued to shrink further. Ironically, it isn't only Israel that occupied Palestinian territory. During the 1948 war, Egypt took control of Gaza, and Jordan annexed the West Bank for a period. Following these events, the Palestinian Authority was formed. This sparked a serious movement for Palestinian statehood. However, in the 1980s, groups like Hamas hijacked the Palestinian cause. They weakened it with their violent tactics and internal divisions. This fragmented the Palestinian movement and allowed Israel to exploit the situation further. The Palestinian Authority's influence started to decline. Today, most of the West Bank is under Israeli control. And now, after recent events, nearly all of Gaza may be as well. The October 7th attack has been a significant setback for the Palestinian cause. Israel now has poised to consolidate control over Gaza. So the possibility of it returning to Palestinian Authority rule has greatly diminished. The map of Palestine has shrunk even further, with little hope of recovery. The global indifference. Globally, Palestinian situation remains largely ignored. Although 139 countries, including India, diplomatically recognize Palestine, it holds only observer status at the United Nations. This is similar to the Vatican. In crucial UN votes on Palestinian statehood held in 1988, 96, and 2003, Palestine received insufficient support. The United States and its allies consistently vetoed Palestine's bid for statehood. Ironically, Monaco, a nation with only 36,000 people, has full UN membership, but Palestine, home to 7 million people, does not. Palestine lacks a military, has limited resources, and operates with minimal autonomy under the shadow of Israel. Who's responsible for the Palestinian situation? There is no single answer. The situation is complex. It involves Israel's aggressive stance, Palestinian extremist tactics, Arab countries' vested interest, United States involvement, and Palestinian weakness. Without Palestinians accepting Israel and demanding their rights peacefully, Israel will continue to resist it and continue to occupy more and more Palestinian territory. And Palestinian statehood will remain a distant dream. A resolution would require the United States and Israel to support Palestinian statehood and Palestinians to adopt a wiser strategic approach. But looking at the current situation, hardliners from both sides, hardliner Jews and hardliner Islamists, both do not seem to be okay to accept two-state solution. So friends, this was a brief introduction to Palestinian history and the current situation. Stay tuned for our next video where we will dive into the ongoing conflicts across the Middle East. Keep looking for better. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe and press the bell icon next to it. And if you haven't watched our previous video on Jews yet, here it is. You can tap here and watch this comprehensive report on Jews. Thank you so much. Let's meet again. Namaste.